Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kuvas and Dan Thompson, two avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Twins. Men for the Win is sponsored by the Grand Group with Edina Realty. Are you looking to purchase a new home in the Twin Cities area? Or perhaps you're trying to sell your current home? Whether you're upsizing or downsizing, the Grand Group with Edina Realty will meet all of your housing needs. Contact the Grand Group by emailing thegran, that's G-R-A-N, group, at edinarealty.com, or call them by phone at 612-817-8751. The Grand Group with Edina Realty, 7-time Minneapolis-St. Paul Magazine Super Agent Award winners.
Men for the Win is part of the Pulltab Sports Network, covering sports, culture, and entertainment across the Midwest. Check them out at pulltabsports.com and give them a follow on all your social media platforms at Pulltab Sports. On this episode, David and Dan recap the Twins' 3-game series against the Toronto Blue Jays. Thanks for listening. Enjoy. Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win. My name is David Kuvas. With me, as always, is Dan Thompson. The Twins head up to Rogers Center, north of the border, Dan. They take 1 of 3, which I have to be honest, was more than I thought they'd take, Dan.
They really could have won the series. Go figure. This is how baseball goes. But they played a pretty good series. They made some mistakes. I think my overarching comment is if they were a contending team, they would have won this series. And the losses would have hurt more, I think, given how well they were only a few plays, David, from winning this series here.
You know, I play a lot of board games, Dan. You know, that's a pretty common thread.
I do, yes.
And one thing that bothers me that we tend not to do too much in the group that I play in is at the end of the game, if you lost, you say well, if I had done these 8 or 9 things differently, I definitely would have won. And you're kind of falling into that territory there, Dan.
I disagree. This was just, one nice pitch away. There were a lot of bad plays by these pitchers this series, but one bad pitch was all that it took to turn the tide here. And George Springer having a couple monster. It seemed like every Blue Jays home run was just a no-doubter.
Yes.
Give a Clemens bat flip and go to first base.
Yes.
Anyway, that's what I know.
No one had the swagger that Kody Clemens has, I would say, after his
not
home
even
runs,
close. But some of those hands on knees moments from the pitchers, the camera was lingering on them more in this series as I was watching. I didn't even see the balls go out. It was just SWR dropping to his knees in agony after giving up another home run.
Before we jump into the series recap, though, folks, a little insight into the relationship that Dan and I have. So Dan and I are both very active in fantasy football. You are welcome that we don't talk about that on the show.
Nobody cares.
But I do want to give a little brief story here. So the other night, Dan has run this one league that since he was a child.
11, since I was 11. 30 years this has been going.
Years.
Minnesota's finest football league.
Well, so one of Dan's buddies can't make the draft. And so Dan says, hey, would you want to draft for him? And I was like, oh, sure. I should be able to make that work. No problem. And so, first of all, we're on this weird server. I don't even know, RT Sports. I don't even know what this
RT Sports,
is.
Yes. I've taken lots of grief for this for the last 15 years.
But so I'm sitting there and I'm writing into this chat box and nobody's responding. And so I text Dan and I'm like, man, chatty bunch you have here. And this is 30, 45 minutes into the draft. And Dan's like, well, yeah, we're all in a video chat. And I'm like, what? There's a video chat? You don't even invite me to a video chat? And so here I am thinking Dan's just ashamed of our friendship here.
It's not.
Wouldn't even invite me into this group because he doesn't want to show me off to his buddies who have been his friends for longer than I've been his friend.
It feels or this is like in Good Will Hunting when he's afraid to bring Skylar over to meet his family that doesn't exist. This is more that moment to me. No, okay. It was fine. It was nice to have you. You've drafted very well. We had a good time socially. So it was good. We may have roomed the Twins game for you a little bit. I know you were on delay and some of the guys couldn't help themselves.
So I don't know any of Dan's friends, but I had said when I got in the room, hey, if anybody's watching the Twins, if you guys could not spoil it because I'm on delay here. And one of the guys wasn't in the room when I said that. And as soon as he got on, he's like, oh, Twins won. I'm like, son of a gun. And it was game 2. It was the game that was the most interesting and that you wouldn't have seen coming, that the Twins were going to come back and win. And so I'm sure Alex is a great guy, but I kind of hate him.
He filled in on the podcast one time, actually, a couple years ago.
My goodness.
He's been on the show. Yeah.
Okay, my hatred has been diminished.
There,
and obviously, it's not. He had no idea. He didn't do
Fake
it intentionally. Yes. Yeah. But it was pretty funny. But what I will say, the one fun story I got out of this, Dan was away from the computer for just a couple of minutes, I asked for dirt on Dan Thompson, and Dan, what annoys me the most when I meet people who listen to the show out in the world is they all say, well, I usually agree with Dan more, right? And I think it's just because you have this very calm nature about you and you're very level-headed and reasonable in your responses. That's no fun, Dan. That's not how I'm going to live my life, right? But so I ask your buddies, I'm like, you guys got to give me something to say on the show, a little dirt about Dan growing up. You know, you guys did something really dumb. None of them could come up with anything. This is the best story I got, was that the first time that Dan wanted to do fantasy football with these guys, he brought a fantasy football almanac to school and like threw it on the table and said, guys, we should totally do this. But my favorite part about this, Dan, is they told me that on Tuesdays, you would go door to door and deliver the fantasy football results.
That's correct. I had a newsletter I would put together on Monday nights. I would print it off and hand it out.
I love that, Dan. I love that so much. And
we need like a nerd alert sounder or something like that. Yeah, it was
no question.
It was a great moment.
That you still have a lot of that too, Dan. Like,
oh, I do. It's actually it's in my classroom in a couple of binders. Yeah, I still have the old stuff. So
it's amazing to me how much stuff you have, Dan. But okay, we've indulged this long enough. Let's go ahead and jump into this series recap.
Series recap.
Game 1 here, Twins fall 4-10. Joe Ryan facing off against future Hall of Famer Max Scherzer, who goes 6 innings pitched, but the Twins do put up 4 on him, Dan. And Joe Ryan, is he doing his best to tank his trade value because he really wants to stay with the Twins? He goes 5 innings pitched, 7 hits, 6 earned runs, 7 strikeouts, 2 homers. Maybe he's hiding an injury because this outing, Dan, looked a lot like that Braves outing from a couple of seasons ago after he was hiding that groin problem.
I don't believe that man's ever been to medical school.
It would make sense with these starters coming back to shut him down, to shut down Bailey Ober. I actually wouldn't have much of a problem with that. Maybe he's got some incentives in his contract where he does need to keep pitching a little bit more, but he does not look great. But it's hard to fault him because he's just trying to get some innings for the team.
Yes. The pain starts early in this one, though. Blue Jays put up 4 in the first, and they add 1 more in the second. So Blue Jays are up 5-0 at this point. And I just love Chris Atterbury on the radio. As much as I don't love him as an announcer, whatever, that's fine. It was pretty funny just to hear the inflection of his voice when he's like, and the Twins start snowed down here early is again. Like, it was on the radio. I was driving home from an event at my kid's school, and it was just so funny to me that it's like, you can tell that these guys who do this for a living, it's got to be so rough when you start to see the writing on the wall that this season means nothing, Dan.
Yeah, and that was like mid-90s baseball. It was like every season at this time of year, it was like that.
Yeah.
Twins do hit a ton of deep fly balls, but short of the wall until Matt Wallner finally does get one to clear the wall in the top of the 4th. It's 5-1 though, because that's what he does until later, actually, in the series. Top of the 6th, the Twins make it interesting for a moment. They score 3 runs, including another home run from Wallner. This one a 2-run shot, so it's 6-4.
Yeah, bottom of the 6th, the Blue Jays answer back though with 4, and honestly, this one's over. Blue Jays don't need to use Varland, and so I was hoping at this point that we were going to see him in the series. We do, but not as long as I would hope to see an outing from Varland, Dan. So let's go into game 2, the Mickey Gasper experience, Dan. The Twins win this one 7-4. Top of the 1st, it's a familiar story here. The Twins have runners on the corners, no outs, and that's followed by strikeouts from Keishel, Wallner, and Julian. So the Canadian, Dan, he's in his home turf. Shouldn't he be performing better?
Oh, Canada.
You would think so, right? And I think in the past he has, but no, that was not the case here. Also, it must be a really fun time to be a Blue Jays fan. They had packed stadiums for this whole series,
full
right?
house, yeah. And we'll talk about that in a little bit here, actually. So bottom of the 1st, Blue Jays score 2. Springer leads off the inning and is... He's credited with a hit on a ball, Dan, that literally went through the legs of Brooks Lee. And whoever was the scorekeeper for this series, I understand that there are some objective rules you need to follow, but dear goodness, the number of hits that guy gave out, it's like, if he saw the ball hit grass, he didn't care what happened ahead of time. He's like, yep, must have been a hit.
That one through Lee's wickets was pretty embarrassing there. So
yes.
The short of it is it's 4-0 Jays in the bottom of the 5th. But then in the top of the 6th, the Twins get on the board here. They put something together with a Lee single, followed by a 2-run home run by your guy, Luke Keishel.
I have magic hair that glows when I sing.
And so it's 4-2. We do get to see Louis Varland, but only for 1 out to end the 6th inning. Sands comes in, replaces Ober, who went 5 innings, 10 hits, 4 earned runs, lots of traffic on the bases.
Where did all these unsupervised children come from?
And 3 strikeouts, but the 2 home runs. And then, David, you got to talk about the 7th inning here.
Mickey Gasper, Dan, leads off with a single. Martin walks. Jeffers singles to load the bases, and then Lee hits a ball hard to right fielder Addison Barger, who doubles off Austin Martin, who left second base and had to return and couldn't get back. But Gasper scores. The Blue Jays are still up 4-3 at this point. But my goodness, Dan, it's not over, folks. Don't turn the game off. I won't spoil it for you like Alex did for me. But top of the eighth, there's this weird play. James Outman's at bat, and he's trying to lay down a bunt with runners on first and second. And a wild pitch causes some confusion because you have Wallner at second base. And if you watch this play back, I had to watch the replay 2 times, Dan, because I'm not sure if Outman touches the ball with the bat or not. But no, it's a wild pitch. There's no contact there. So Wallner sort of hesitates, takes a step back to second, and then goes to third, and he's thrown out. It's still a close play at third.
Yeah, that's a moose.
But it's a little bit frustrating here that Matt Wallner, like, dude, you had to make a decision at that point. You shouldn't have been walking back to second if you weren't 100% sure what the situation was at home plate.
It was confusing, too, because I think Julian was leaving first, and I think that's kind of when Wallner went, is he felt like he had to go. I think the Twins actually challenged the play. He was not close to being safe in that.
No.
So the Twins are down there. But then top of the ninth with the Twins down 1, and we'll talk about this inning a little bit later, but Mickey Gasper ties the game with a solo home run here. A really good call by Provis if you get a chance to go back and listen to it. And then the Twins were able to get 3 more runs. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. But it includes a Matt Wallner home run. He's the 4th Minnesota-born player to hit 20 home runs in a season for the Twins. 20 home runs and only 34 RBI, or I think it was maybe 35 maybe by this point. Declan Goff was on that note, but that is almost mathematically impossible to do that.
It's crazy. And
well, I shouldn't say it's not mathematically impossible, but it's practically impossible, I would suppose.
You really had to try to only hit home runs when nobody was on base. But so what I loved about this, though, you mentioned how the Rogers Center was always packed. And when the Blue Jays blew this lead late in this game, holy cow, Dan, were those guys letting them hear it. They were booing, those polite Canadians, Dan, booing their hometown squad.
Well, when Mickey Gasper hits a home run off of you with that average of like 115 or something that he came into the game with, I think I can understand why.
Well, I suppose it was interesting though too that, like, I forgot how good Springer is, and maybe he's just that good against the Twins. But both of the home runs that Ober gave up were solo shots to Springer, which is crazy.
And they were deep shots, almost at the same spot. Then there's game 3. The Blue Jays win this one 9-8. Again, entertaining game. It really would have stung more if the Twins were contenders. But if they were contenders, I think they would have had the bullpen to actually hold on to this lead. To kind of sum this one up, the Twins hit 4 home runs, 2 of them by Buxton, who also played in his 100th game of the season. Thank you, Dan Hayes, for pointing that out. Really exciting for him. Luke Keeschall hits one. Brooks Lee hits one. They also get a Little League home run, basically, when the Blue Jays throw the ball around on a Julian double, and he comes hustling all the way around. I don't think I've ever seen Eddie and Julian hustle quite like that before.
No, he was like the moose in that situation, Dan.
Yes, but a very cute moose. Make all the boy moose go.
Unfortunately, blow for blow, basically, the Blue Jays keep up. They hit 4 home runs themselves, one of them by former Twin Ty France.
After all, miss, this is France.
So
that was the saddest part about him being traded, was like not being able to use that sounder, because I love it so much, Dan.
And didn't you know it was going to happen? We'll talk about that a little bit later. But that home runs cuts the Twins lead to 8-7 in the 8th, and then Barger hits a 2-run double off the wall to give Toronto its first lead, 9-8. Keeschall does double with 2 outs in the 9th, but then Lee grounds out to end it. Twins steal 5 bases, weren't caught once. SWR makes his return, which is great after his sickness. But he didn't pitch great. He was just 3 2/3 innings and allowed 5 earned runs. But and also one last thing, Dalton Varsho had 2 excellent catches in center field. One may have been a robbery of a home run. The other one was definitely not, but they were both big spots where the Twins certainly could have used the hit.
Yeah, a lot of running on the base paths, as you mentioned, Dan. And what I really appreciated was when Buxton scored from second because the pitcher caught Jeffers in a rundown, but they had Buxton dead to rights. They
probably did.
By a good 10 feet, I think. So good on the Blue Jays pitcher at that moment for giving the Twins an extra run. I guess it didn't matter in the long run.
Well, and you got to figure with that much hustle, it's no doubt that Byron Buxton has some nice men's grooming products to keep him smelling good when he gets back to that dugout. And good thing for him, Duke Cannon makes high-quality grooming products for hardworking men. Minnesota-based with an all-new look, their clean new packaging features the Big D, and it's unmistakable on the shelves. Whether you go for a brick of soap, thick body wash, deodorant, hair care, beard care, cologne, Duke Cannon will have you smelling your best. So look for the Big D at Target, Walmart, Amazon, or DukeCannon.com, because once you try it, you're going to be hooked. Work harder, smell better, Duke Cannon.
Catch 'em all, Kirby Puckett!
Puckett's Picks winner.
Dan, do I start to believe I could make an epic comeback?
With all due respect, sir, I believe this is going to be our finest hour.
Weirder things have happened. The Tigers coming back and making the playoffs was a bigger surprise, I think, than you. You win this one with Keyshaw. He gets you 11 points. Hogs took Buxton, and he had 8. The listeners took Lewis, who was kind of a non-factor in this series. He had -1. I picked Kody Clemens. I thought maybe with his father's connection to Toronto, he might have a moment, but he didn't have a moment. He had just had the 1 point for me. So season standings, luckily, neither me nor Hogs got a point, but you got a point. Your 11th point now this season. No bonus because Wallner, the Moose, had 15 to lead the team. So Hogs and I have 15. You have 11. And then the listeners, 10.5.
Well, let's push here, Dan. Beast versus bench.
Beast versus bench.
Is losing fun? Is losing fun.
Got to go with my guy, Keishel, Dan. He could be for real. 3 for 9. The fielding needs to improve. That's what I'll say. I shouldn't want Eddie Julian to come in as a defensive replacement for Luke Keishel. But the last couple of series, man, he has really struggled seeing the ball off the bat. And we'll see. I mean, I think that he's still super young, obviously. The fielding will get better, but his stats need to basically stay where they are to justify his current fielding percentage.
Yeah, I mean, you could always DH him more next year, depending on the situation. But his OPS is 976.
That's what I'm
talking.
Saying. Like,
I mean,
if
it's a small sample size,
like
but
that, yes,
yeah.
Well, I'll take an era series if his batting stats stay where they're at currently.
I'm gonna go with Matt Wallner. Obviously, what a great series for him. This is a great audition time for all of these guys, but for Wallner, I think this time does matter quite a bit here too. His OPS is up to 823. He's only batting 215, so he's kind of in that like Adam Dunn zone. But I am hopeful that he will be able to be a staple. And again, we were talking on the video chat with a guy in Philadelphia who follows the Phillies, and Max Kepler is not doing what the Phillies hoped he would. I think he's doing kind of what we thought he would.
I'll have you know, Dan, that he is not from Philadelphia. He's from New Jersey. And I don't know if you knew this, Dan. New Jersey and Philadelphia are quite close.
Duluth, that's in North Dakota.
Thank you, Dave. You were very impressed with yourself when you were able to discern that last night.
I was told it about 30 minutes earlier in the conversation, yeah.
As for bench, I'm going to go with Joe Ryan. Maybe he is hurt, like you said, but it's been a little bit discouraging is maybe the fact word, but just to have your ace be the guy who's actually not pitching very well over the course of this. Also, they seem to have gone away from the piggyback now that they've got these starting pitchers available again with Mick Abel and Taj Bradley.
Come on. I'll get there. Give me a minute.
Oh, sorry. Okay. All right. Well, fair enough. Well, I'll let you bring that up. Who's on your bench?
Yeah, I got to give it to SWR here, man. I understand you're coming back from injury, but hey, if I can give the bench slot to a guy who got hit in the face with a fastball, I can give it to a guy coming off the IR. It's fine that you're still working some things out and you're not at 100%, but a lot of those home run balls, Dan, looked like batting practice out there.
They did not look good, and he seemed to know it too.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's feed in here the Rocco's Rewind.
Rocco's Rewind.
So you just mentioned the piggyback here, Dan. Game 3, top 6. What are we doing here, man? Like, I understand trying to win games and whatnot, but at this point, it's the 6th inning, and you just had Hatch go an inning and a third. Just let him keep pitching.
Yes.
Like, I think this has been working. You can work him out to see, like, how far he can pitch. Is he a depth starter guy in the long run, or is he just going to be a long relief guy who can actually make the roster next season? Rocco, I appreciate you're trying to win. Nobody cares anymore. Like, let this guy pitch. I don't know that Cody Funderburk is going to be the guy who's going to save you. Even if he's pitched very well recently, he can only pitch so long. Just leave Hatch out there and see how it goes. I know hindsight's really easy to look back. I think the Twins could have very easily won this baseball game, Dan, if Hatch had pitched just decently. I mean, the rest of the relievers did not pitch well.
No, you figure you leave Hatch out there, and then you push everybody back. And then you can use Funderburk and Sands on the last couple of innings, which is probably when you want to use them. And again, who knows? But, I mean, Cabrera came in and gave up a couple runs. Tonkin, blew the game. So it's just like, that didn't make a lot of sense. And then, are they going to use Hatch then in a couple days again? It seems like if once a guy's going to be pitching 4 or 5 innings for you, you can't just you can't mess with that. Let's see what Hatch can do.
Well, and we should note too, David Festa is going to do a rehab start, I think, in a couple of days with the Saints, and so he'll probably be back up with the squad pretty quick here as well.
Mine is a confidence game move, admittedly, David. How he handled Martin's poor base running in Game 2.
That's not what confidence game means, Dan. Like, that's like when you're getting robbed or ripped off by or tricked by someone to get money out of you. Like, you're making it sound like this is like a separate board game that Rocco's playing on the side with the roster.
This is about building confidence, right? And I think that he must have handled it very well after game 2, because Martin did not play well, and he was beating himself up. You can watch the video of the game, and he was very upset with himself for that gaffe, getting doubled off at second base. But then he came out in game 3, and he played really well. He stole a couple bases. He was active. This is just the kind of game that you want to see out of a guy like that. I think I got to give Rocco some credit for handling Austin Martin in that way.
Oh, good on Rocco.
Yeah, I'm a llama again.
Let's keep going here. Minnesota moment.
Minnesota moment.
So I'll look at game 2 here. It's got to be Mickey Gasper's home run, which felt kind of like a Willians Astudillo moment. He reminds me a little bit of Willians Astudillo, except he's not playing as well as Willians Astudillo did, but he's kind of like a quirky guy. You know, like you wouldn't look at him and think, oh, this is gonna be a great baseball player. And yet he had his big moment there. You don't like that comparison?
Ogres are like onions.
The physiques are very different.
Well, yeah, there's that.
The actual ability to play baseball, like, are maybe somewhat equivalent. It feels like a stretch to make that be your comparative.
Well, maybe
player.
okay. So maybe what I like about the comparison is that there are these guys that are having a moment here late in the season, but they were not relevant earlier in the season. I mean, they both are kind of catchers, but they don't really have a defensive position. Like they just kind of go out there when they've run out of everybody else. So he fills a similar role. He's just not filling it as well as Williams. I would take the turtle right now over Mickey Gasper for sure.
Right now, like in his current state. I don't know what he's probably playing in
Willians Astudillo in his prime over Mickey Gasper.
I don't know that he had one of those. Yeah, like not everybody has a prime. Like they have a when they were their best, but even that wasn't their prime, I'd say.
Well, the rest of the inning was pretty great too, right? And this was maybe the prime moment for the Twins, because they're able to get a couple guys on the base, and then Matt Wallner hits a 2-out, 3-run home run. I mean, for goodness sake, like that was un-Twins-like from what we've seen over the last month, and surprising that they did this against a good team like the Blue Jays.
I do hope though that in the offseason, Kody Clemens gives Matt Wallner some like swagger tips for like what to do, because Wallner's home run swing is so funny because he does the same movement whether it's a fly out or whether it's a home run. He swings the bat and he never stops. Like the bat is always in his hands until it's not in his hands. Like it's not like he holds the bat at all. So he swings, he finishes his backswing, and then he drops the bat. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like it's one smooth motion. There's never any flair to that whatsoever. So if there's one thing that Kody Clemens can offer this team, or one additional thing, I should say, we've had a lot of fun with Kody Clemens here, hand off some of that swagger to Matt Wallner and show him how you need to react when you hit a home run. Like that bat flip, catch, and then flip back to the dugout last series. I still think about that, Dan.
It's stuck with you there. It's seeing it in your dreams now.
Yes.
You're looking at game 3 here.
Okay, bottom 6. Andrés Giménez, he gets credited with a double. And this is one of the things about baseball, that the way statistics are done is just, it's not okay. So for an error to be recorded, oftentimes there needs to be contact with the player and the ball for them to issue an error. Okay, he gets credited with a double because Luke Keeschel runs up on this ball. And this is the strangest play I've seen in a long time. Okay, so Keeschel is running up on this ball, and it's got a high bounce on it, to be fair.
Right.
But Dan, from like the very earliest stages of Little League, especially when there's runners on base, what are you told? You keep the ball in front of you.
You
right?
keep the ball in front of you. Yeah.
Keeschel did the exact opposite of that. He ran, and you can watch the replay. You can go watch the replay of this happen. Keeschel is running in. He swipes his glove with his left hand. He's swiping towards the ball. Nowhere, if his glove doesn't magically grasp this ball on the high bounce, it's gone. Like it's into the outfield, and there's no play to be made here. I'm convinced Keeschel had his eyes closed at that point, Dan. When the ball is to his left, watch the replay. The longest blink a baseball player has ever taken when he's been trying to field a baseball, because it went so high.
Hair that glows when I sing.
Maybe the hair was in his eyes. That was
maybe
the problem.
that's what the problem. Yeah.
No, but a terrible baseball play, Dan, because it's either whatever the percentage chance is that he's going to get this ball on the hop. If he doesn't get it, all of these runs are scoring, and then the guy gets credited with a double. That's just ridiculous, Dan.
What about the eighth here? You have another moment too.
Oh, well, I knew we were going to lose when Ty France hit a pinch hit home run, because what is Ty France doing hitting these home runs, dude? Like, lay off. They're your old team, the Twins. Be nice.
All right, let's move forward here. We got a couple questions in the musings.
I just don't know how it can get any better.
Mauer's musings.
I like this, Dan. It flows right into my comment here. So, Eddie Julian, I don't really know if he's going to be on this team long term. And Kody Clemens, as I honestly think, as mysteriously as he came, I think he'll leave just as mysteriously. It'll just be in the middle of the night. It'll be very secretive that he was here and then he's gone. How mad are you going to be, Dan, if the Twins go into next season? And this is such a dumb question because we have no idea what the Twins team is going to do. But how angry would you be if next season the Twins roll in to the 2026 season with Julian and Clemens platooning at first base, even though they're both lefties?
Yeah, that would be the weirdest part. I think of the two, I think Clemens has a better chance of sticking around at this point because he's at least shown some competency. But we could have said the same thing about Julian a couple years ago when he showed plenty of competency and then took a big step back. So maybe it's the potential of Julian that maybe is a little bit more exciting. Like Clemens kind of is who he is, I would think, at this point in his career. And maybe Eddie Julian has a bit of a rise, but that would be quite the white flag to be waving there. So I would be a little surprised if that's the move. I mean, Carlos Santana is available again. The Guardians waived him, so maybe they could just go pick him up.
I don't think so, Dan. He was old
I
last
don't
season.
think that's
he's an old
which is
man
worth
now.
noting, by the way, from this front office. If you think of the guys that they chose not to sign, Kepler and Santana, they're not having good seasons for their teams. So I guess we got to give them credit for that.
To be fair, yeah, Santana did have a good season with us, but I think I was a Kepler guy, right? Like I love my boy Max, the fellow German. But he hasn't been good, like, almost ever, Dan. Like, very
it's
short
quite the magic trick
stints.
that he convinced all of us that he was a good player.
He is Kevin Spacey in The Usual Suspects. Like
Nobody saw it.
When Max Kepler goes home, he instead of walking without a limp, he walks with a limp. When he leaves the stadium, he's kind of the opposite.
All right, David. The big news really this week was that Major League Baseball released its 2026 schedule. Kind of a tradition for us is to look at that and imagine a dream schedule or a dream road trip. So what do you see when you see that schedule?
Yeah, I don't know that there's like a ton of really good options, but I think the one that would make the most sense for me at least would to be the San Diego Padres and the Oakland or the Athletics in Vegas or wherever they're going to be playing baseball next season. I think really I just want to see the Padres Stadium. Like that's the one that I'd like to go to. And then just the fact that I could pretty easily hit up the Athletics also would be good. The other option is just a little bit too close, I think, to home, like Cubs Guardians. Like you could do both of those pretty easily, but that just doesn't seem nearly as fun. And then like the rest of them, Dan, that you could do, like Cleveland, Detroit, like I mean, none of these are series that I want to go see. So if I have to pick one, it's the Padres Athletics. What about you?
Mine is so constrained by when I can actually go, kind of in my teaching schedule. The Padres series would be fun to sneak down because I wasn't able to go to that one a couple years ago. I am intrigued by the A's, but school's back by then, so I couldn't go to that. But from a pure baseball standpoint, if I had no restrictions, I think probably
Rangers Diamondbacks. I'm told it's a beautiful time to visit that part of the country.
I think it would probably be, I would like to go see that Cubs and Guardians swing, just only because I haven't ever seen Cleveland Stadium. I've been to Wrigley, but it's been a long time.
Don't worry about it.
And maybe you could wrap in the All-Star game right before. And we talked about this last episode. It would be fun to go to that Field of Dreams game between the Phillies and the Twins.
Yes.
But we gotta get pretty lucky in a lottery. Maybe if you're a season ticket holder, David, they would allow you earlier access and a better, more ping pong balls in the game.
Maybe. One quick note here. This is way into the future, but as I was putting together the schedule on our podcast page.
You already put it together?
I was just looking.
Oh my gosh.
Yep, I'm there. I already have a tab.
You have it done. I'm looking at it right now. Remarkable.
Here's my thought, Dan. Regardless of the moves that the Twins make in the offseason, by the end of April, normally I have a pretty good idea of like how long it'll be until we know what the team is. By the end of April, we'll know if it's going to be a real rust season or not, because you have a pretty good spread of not great teams and some pretty good teams. So I think we're going to see if the Twins are playing 500 baseball by the end of April, the season might be interesting, but I think there's a good chance there's like 5 or 6 games under 500 pretty easily at that point. So don't get your hopes up here, folks, especially if the Twins continue to slash and burn as we expect them to do this offseason.
Well, let's come back to the present here, David, and let's grade this series.
Yes. We need one of those like music, that are like the flashback and the flash forward. Okay, anyway, here we go. Series grades.
Series grades.
I'm going to give him a C here, Dan. I'm shocked that you won a game, honestly. But after you won game 2, you should have won game 3. Like, there were a lot of missed opportunities, some poor play in the field that's not reflected in the box score, which is a little bit annoying. And the Blue Jays were trying to give you game 3. Like, I don't know why they wanted to give you a game, but they tried their best. So I'm going to give you a C just because you outperformed what I thought you could do. But it still was not a very good series from like a baseball perspective.
I saw enough flashes from all of the players here that I gave them +1s for the old and the young. Momentum, I actually thought this was a positive sign for the team in some ways. I think getting a couple guys back probably helps them out a little bit. Decision making, I thought, they were aggressive on the base paths, which I really like. So that kind of covers up for some of the mistakes. So I gave them +1s across the board. That's 16 out of 20 for a B-, which isn't, all that bad given where they've been.
No, not bad at all, Dan. And can I tell you something? I was outside a little bit today with the kiddos. The weather was not bad, Dan, but it's coming quick. You can smell fall in the air, but you folks have a couple more weekends of Minnesota summer. Here's what you need. Hit up Rave Sports. It's your one-stop shop for all things water sports. They've been around since 1997. They're based right here in Eagan, and they have all the toys you need for your lake life. Give your pontoon the water patio it's always wanted with an aqueduct. Take your kids on a thrill ride with a new hypertube, or just chill out with an inflatable paddleboard. It's all at Rave, and don't forget to use promo code PULLTAB for 20% off your order. Whether you're a lake person or a river person, make it the best summer ever and visit ravesports.com. Rave Sports, make waves.
I don't know, Jack. It looked like Herbeck pulled him off the bag.
Herbie's headlines.
So we have to have our Cal Raleigh update. He joins Ken Griffey Jr. as the only Mariners player to hit 50 home runs in a season. Another kind of a negative update, unfortunately, Nathan Eovaldi, a Cy Young candidate for the Rangers, is done for the season with a rotator cuff strain. I did want to ask you, though, David, now we're getting down to the final stretch here, about a month left of baseball until the playoffs. Which non-Twins team are you rooting for the rest of the way?
It's much more about who I'm not rooting for, I think.
Man,
I don't
know.
So
if negative.
Really
why not look at the positive here, David?
Well, okay, so here's the thing. I love Pete Alonso, but it's really hard to try and cheer for the Mets. The Padres, it'd be fun to see some success, certainly. So I guess if I had to choose teams that I'd like to see win, it's hard to cheer for the Tigers because they're a divisional team. The Blue Jays have had a rough go in the AL East. I have my love for the Red Sox, of course. So I guess here's my tiered order of who I would want to see win the World Series. I think Brewers first, Mariners second, then I'm going to go Padres, I think, are my top 3, and then Red Sox just because of my love for them, and then Blue Jays. I think that's sort of my order of operations. Who do you have, Dave?
It's really hard to argue with that. I wanted to kind of sneak the Reds in there because they had been making a run, but they've lost 3 in a row, and they're 4.5 back now from the Mets. The Mets have won 3, so that gap got wider. Definitely the Brewers. I would love to see like a Brewers Blue Jays, or I mean, obviously the Mariners would be really fun out here. But the thing is that teams have started to separate now. The Royals actually are the next team below the Mariners in the wild card. They're 3 back there. And I don't really mind when the Royals do well. There's just something about that small market team that's encouraging to me. But I think my list is about the same. I obviously don't want the Astros. I don't want the Red Sox. I don't want the Yankees. I guess I'd be okay with the Tigers if I had to choose because they are a central team, so it wouldn't be the worst.
If the Mariners make the World Series or the postseason, will you go, Dan?
I'd probably try to find a way. As a Mariners season ticket holder, I get to, I'm in line for those if I want to be. So I might consider going to a World Series game or a playoff game, but we'll see. They got a lot of work to do. It doesn't look like they're going to host a playoff series unless they win that wild card round. So we'll see.
All right, well, let's keep pushing here. Make our picks for the upcoming. Who are we playing? The Padres, Dan. Speak of the devil.
And we'll see you tomorrow night.
Puckett's Picks.
So the listeners are going to take Keishel. Looks like, Dan, who are you going with?
I'm going back with Byron Buxton. That was a really encouraging series.
Hogs is going to pick Wallner. And my goodness, Dan, there's just not a lot left here. After those 3 are gone, I don't even know who you go with. I think I have to go with Brooks Lee. He had a decent series, but I don't know. It's so funny to me when Royce Lewis doesn't get picked, especially after 23, where it was like, if you picked Royce Lewis, you won automatically. And so, but I'm going with Brooks. We'll see how he does here. Again, I'm not as upset as I should be at ownership still. Like, my mind has definitely shifted to like just watching the players to see how they're doing and see how this team is going to sort of develop over the next year or two. But I still want to be mad, Dan. I'm just having trouble holding on to that anger.
One other note we forgot to mention last episode, but Wally Jenkins was promoted to AAA.
Wally Jenkins, Dan. He's here.
So exciting. You got to think that at some point early next season, we'll see him in the majors. So there is hope across the horizon somewhere, David. We just don't know how far away that hope actually is.
Fair enough, Dan. Well, I'll go ahead and send us out. Well, folks, if you like what you hear, please tell a friend. You can follow us on X at Men for the Win and find our Men for the Win Facebook and Instagram pages. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform so that you're notified when new episodes are available. And if you could leave us a rating or like, we'd greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to support the show further, you can find us on Patreon. Link in the description. Thanks for listening, and as always, go Twins.
That'll wrap up another episode of Men for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, two avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Twins. Thanks so much for listening, and as always, go Twins.